Hi everyone. In today's Harmonized Gap Worker Training, we're going to be talking about cleaning and sanitizing procedures. So the first thing we're going to talk about is why. Why do we have cleaning and sanitizing procedures? So having comprehensive cleaning and sanitizing SOPs will really help reduce the risk of contaminants spreading throughout the system on your operation. Um, and contaminants can impact the health of your consumers and your workers. So with having well-established cleaning and sanitizing procedures and by maintaining records, you can ensure that you are keeping yourself and your consumers healthy. So what are cleaning and sanitizing SOPs? In your farm food safety plan, you will have specific procedures that center around your particular operation. So your procedures could be different from another farm based on what sort of equipment you're using, what product you're growing, how your farm is set up, um, or whether you're an indoor and outdoor operation, you may have different cleaning and sanitizing SOPs. Um, so make sure as we go through this presentation, you think about your own farm food safety plan or have your farm plan out in front of you um, to really think about how this training applies to your particular operation. So different things that will be in your procedures are how are you cleaning? So what cleanser are you using? Is it a dish soap, some other kind of liquid detergent? How are you sanitizing? So what sanitizer are you using and how is that sanitizer applied to the food contact surfaces? Additionally, you'll want to think about the dilution rates of that sanitizer and other label instructions. And then what information needs to be documented in your cleaning and sanitizing records. Um, so your cleaning and sanitizing SOPs, your farm food safety plan, like I said, will have specific cleaning and sanitizing procedures. So take some time to review this in your farm plan. Things that should be listed out and that should um, be accurate in your farm plan to what you're doing at your operation is what tools and equipment need to be cleaned and sanitized, um, what food contact surfaces need to be cleaned and sanitized, how often is this done, and when is it done? So is it being done directly before harvest, right after harvest, at the beginning of each day? Um, when are you doing these procedures? And then what methods are you using to clean and sanitize? Um, this is why it's really important to have all your workers read your farm food safety plan because you want to make sure that these different, you know, things that are listed out, when are they cleaning and sanitizing, what method are they using, that all these things are accurate to what's actually being done on the farm. If your farm plan says that you sanitize at the beginning of each day, but actually you're cleaning and sanitizing, you know, only directly before harvest, we would want to note that in your plan. So next, just an overview of a typical cleaning and sanitizer procedure for food contact surfaces and equipment. So number one is cleaning. You can't sanitize something without cleaning it first. So number one is clean. So cleaning agents such as dish soap made out of a synthetic detergent is used to remove dirt and germs, objects or impurities from your food contact surfaces and your equipment. The next step is rinse. So you're gonna want to rinse that detergent off of whatever surface with potable water. And water removes the cleaning agent. Um, Potable water, you guys all know this. It's just water that is drinking water and means it's safe for food contact surfaces. And then the next step is sanitize. So sanitizers are applied to clean surfaces and they ensure that that surface is free of pathogenic microbes. The sanitizing step is mandated for most state and federal food safety protocols, so required and harmonized GAP. Next, really quickly, we're going to talk about the slight differences between sanitizing and disinfecting for the most part. So we talked about before, cleaning is not sanitizing, it's not disinfecting. It's using soap or detergent to remove dirt and organic matter from surfaces. Sanitizing kills bacteria, and it kills the bacteria on whichever surface using chemicals, but it does not kill viruses, or it's not intended to kill viruses. And then sanitizing or disinfecting kills viruses and bacteria. So it will kill the viruses and bacteria on the food contact surface. So there are slight differences between sanitizing and disinfecting, and this is why it's important to read the label of your sanitizer. Some sanitizers only sanitize, some have the ability to sanitize and disinfect depending on application or time that you allow it to sit on the surface. So harmonized GAP doesn't require disinfecting. It only talks about sanitizing in the standard. But if you're using a product that has the ability to disinfect, I would recommend just going for the disinfecting, because viruses are very much real, as we all know. But there is a difference between sanitizing and disinfecting, which I actually didn't know that before. So I thought that was interesting and kind of annoying because people use them synonymously. Sidetrack, but anyways. So next we're going to be talking about reading a label. So when we think about, okay, there's a difference between sanitizing and disinfecting, this is just one of the reasons why it's important to read the label and to think about your labels. So some things to think about while you're reading your sanitizer label. Is this sanitizer specified use for food contact surfaces? So some sanitizers are not actually okay to use on food contact surfaces. So make sure that the label specifies that that's an acceptable use. Next thing to think about, is there any required PPE for this sanitizer? So personal protective equipment. Some sanitizers, like for example, Sanidate, actually do require a fair amount of PPE. So you might think, oh, like Clorox, I like spray that on my counter every day. There's no reason, like I don't need to worry about PPE. You do want to make sure to read the label and make sure that you're protecting your workers. And if there is required gear, that you give that to your workers. Next thing to think about is the dilution rate. So sanitizers that you're mixing yourself will have different dilution rates for different applications. So for example, bleach, you're going to use a different ratio of bleach to water if you're sanitizing your toilet bowl versus sanitizing your cutting board. So it's important to know, am I using the correct dilution rate for this product and for the use that I'm using it for food contact surfaces. Next thing to think about, is there a specific contact time for this sanitizer? So some sanitizers do state that there needs to be a specific contact time, whether it can be from like 1 to like even 10 minutes of the sanitizer being on that surface for it to work properly. So make sure that you check to see if there's a specific contact time before wiping or rinsing. The next thing is that labels change. This is another kind of annoying thing about sanitizers, but labels do change over time. For example, the bleached label, I know has changed a little bit over the course of the pandemic. So just because you buy a sanitizer once doesn't mean that that label is going to be the same. So make sure that you continue to, look at each new label of the sanitizer you're buying and stay up to date with any label changes. And the last thing is, just if you have any questions about your sanitizer, or the label's confusing, or you're not sure, ask Lisa and I. We're here to do that research for you. So now I just want to go over some examples of labels so we can like see the different things that we need to be looking for. So here's an example of bleach. We see all the different dilution rates for different applications. And here at the bottom, to sanitize food contact surfaces, we see it's 2 tablespoons to 1 gallon of potable water. Another thing to note here with bleach is that bleach isn't the same all across the board. Some bleaches do have fragrances, thickeners, other additives that should not be on food contact surfaces. So when you say you sanitize with bleach, try to get a little bit more specific and make sure, okay, am I using a bleach with a fragrance? Does this bleach have any other additives? It's important to really read the label and get specific with it. The next example, this is Soluguard. And you'll see here, I wanted to show there's, procedures for sanitizing here and procedures for disinfecting. So to sanitize using Soluguard, you spray the proper dilution of the product on the surface and you let it stand for 1 minute before wiping or air drying. And then you'll see here for disinfecting, after you clean the surface, you spray on the product and let it stand for 10 minutes before wiping down. So a pretty big time difference between sanitizing and disinfecting here. So make sure both that, is there an application time that I need to let this stand, and is that different for different uses, sanitizing versus disinfecting. The next one that I wanted to go over is Sanidate, and this here is an example of a sanitizer that does require PPE. So it requires also different PPE for handlers who are mixing the product, and then also handlers who are using pre-mixed product, so already diluted product, and maybe applying that product. So you'll see there's a pretty long list of PPE that is needed for Sanidate. And then again here, if you read the Sanidate label, I think it's like 5-page long document of just different applications of Sanidate. So make sure that you're using the correct one. Here we have treatment for raw, unprocessed fruit and vegetable surfaces. So there's going to be different directions, dilution rates, application times for different uses of Sanidate, and all the sanitizers. So make sure you're using the correct directions. So I think this is all that I have for this presentation, but really quickly, just to recap, make sure that you look in your farm food safety plan to make sure that you're familiar with your cleaning and sanitizing procedures, that all the equipment and surfaces that need to be cleaned and sanitized are, outlined on your farm plan. Take a look at your sanitizer label, make sure that you understand and that your workers understand what the proper dilution rates are. And if you do have any questions, reach out to Lisa and I. Thank you so much. And one last thing, I lied. Don't forget to record this worker training in Heavy Connect or however you keep your records. Record this so we can bulk up our worker training records. All right, everyone, have an awesome day. Aloha.